I listened back to our season one review of The Witcher, and I
Yeah.
think I was a little hard on it because this season is way shittier than that first season by like so much. Dude,
Come
I cannot
on.
tell you. Yeah, I know, and it's not even me trying to play up a bit or anything. It was torture. I binge watched all of The Witcher last couple days, and I cannot tell you how awful this series is. Or at least as a person that has no vested interest outside of just the Netflix TV show, it was awful, and I didn't like one bit of it. Actually, I shouldn't say one bit of it. There were some things I liked, but I'd like to know what your overall thoughts of season two was.
All right, listen. I didn't think it was that bad. I thought it was about the same quality as the first one. It didn't have the confusing timelines, so that was a plus for me. The one thing that I'll say negatively, like the big thing about this, is that it didn't really feel like the main plot or the main like issues were very significant in this. It kind of feels like filler. You know what I mean? And that shouldn't be
Yeah,
happening already. I mean, the first season felt like filler. That's the big problem with the series. It feels like filler because what's going on right now? What's like the thing we're waiting for? It's Cirilla doing what? Like them discovering what her place is in the world, kind of.
or
Yeah, yeah, and
Cersei, right? Or Siri. They
yeah,
call her
yeah,
Cersei.
Siri. Just
Siri.
yeah,
Yeah.
serious. Yeah, and so like we get little bits of it here and there, but largely we don't have anything going on. Like it's this whole elven, like racial tensions,
I
whatever, an analogy. And I understand Nilfgaard is there involved, being involved, and Nilfgaard is, as we know now, directly tied to Ciri's uh, thing. But I don't know. It doesn't feel like it feels like a side story. And same with all the stuff with Jaskier and whoever that fire mage guy is. Like we learned
yeah.
literally nothing about him. It was pointless to introduce him, at least in season two. Like they should have added a little bit more for him. I didn't hate it though. I'll talk about things that I like if you want.
Well, well, real quick while you're talking about that stuff, this season, yeah, it felt like filler. I was complaining about this season to some of my friends I was talking to with, and I told you about this conversation about how they
Yeah,
said it's better than Game of
ridiculous.
Thrones, and I was like, are you serious?
Well, last two seasons, okay,
Yeah, and that's
maybe.
mostly their examples were, and I was like, are you like? There was other seasons of Game of Thrones, like the first four seasons of Game of Thrones are nearly perfect. Once it starts going off the rails in its own like off book part, I do understand how it gets, a lot less. The quality drops significantly, but you cannot tell me this series is better than Game of Thrones. And those people are like, after I heard that, I was like, I'm never gonna listen to any take you have about any other pop culture thing ever again.
Yeah, that's a really
It was
bad
so,
take.
but there was a lot of things I didn't like about it. The first episode actually I liked a lot. Speaking of Game of Thrones, had our boy, who's his name, Tormund Giantsbeard.
Oh yeah,
The CGI looked really good in it, and I like that tone it's set right at the beginning. Like, Geralt running into random monsters, interacting with them. It's very dark. There's so much like other kind of lighthearted, or not light. I shouldn't say lighthearted, but kind of like felt, I don't know, at not as like gritty and dark as that first episode. And that's why I really like the anime. The anime was great. The Nightmare of the Wolf. If it
yeah.
kept closer to that,
It's
it'd
like
have
a
been,
indirect prequel kind of to
yeah. If they kept
this.
closer to that, that would have been good. But like you said, this is all set up, and it almost felt like that Castlevania season. It was that Castlevania season 3 where it's like all set up in dialogue, setting up for like a bigger fight to come. Except,
I agree, and but that's the
but
thing. I
but the
actually loved
dialogue's not
Castlevania
fun.
season three.
I was gonna
Yeah.
say, but the dialogue isn't fun or like clever, or they don't delve into these deep ideas like how we should, uh, you know, someone's journey in a certain way. Like
No, it doesn't. Like
Yennefer's, I don't
it's
care.
so much of it was focused. I say this again, but about the elf thing, and I'm hypersensitive now to like the whole social justice bullshit being inserted and everything. So I couldn't help, especially when they were at that citadel where like Geralt apparently learned a bunch of stuff from that like old monk.
Yes,
Some of the stuff that she was saying, it really sounded like she was trying to compare it to real life, like race relations. And
elf lives matter.
yeah, yeah, it really did. And so like that was really irritating. It felt like by the time we got to the end, spoiler alert, when it was revealed that the King of Nilfgaard is Ciri's dad, right?
Well, I
It
mean, a
felt like,
badass name, the White Flame, which kind of gets, sounds a little
well,
racist, but
it's the
pretty
correct color
badass.
anyway. But it's it's when I saw that, I felt like we were like it was filler up until that point. It's like we're watching an anime and there's like a big filler arc, and then you wait for that one moment where it's like hinting we're finally getting back on track. That's what it was. Even though we did get the whole thing with like the Deathless Mother, right? The Deathless Mother wanted to possess Ciri because Ciri has all this potential and to get back to the other spheres, and then there was like the wild hunt and those wraiths and stuff like that. But it feels
Yeah.
jumbled because we don't know anything about it. It feels like filler to us. It's not until we get that final moment. This is I said this in our first season 1 review. It just feels like they had so much they wanted to introduce and they didn't really have they weren't willing to make any compromises, so they had to like make all these elaborate stories and components to make it all fit. It didn't feel like there was too much going on when I was watching it. It just felt random. But in reality, there was just too much stuff going on because it just
Yeah,
didn't feel cohesive enough.
I did like do a double or triple check on myself when watching this because I was thinking, am I retarded? Why don't I understand what's going on in this right now? But then
Yeah,
I'm like, no,
exactly.
it's just them not explaining things. Like the magic system, they don't explain all that well how she loses her magic, but then gets it back. You know, there's not a clear, like I know how I have to get it back. X Y Z, and
Well,
explain to me like I'm
they
12.
explained it. They explained it, but like they contradicted right away. Like she lost it because she used fire, like the forbidden magic. And then what do? Let's introduce a fire master who has no
Yes.
repercussions for it right away. Like
Well,
it's
also in
like,
the
okay.
anime too, they have the girl can use fire, and she says it's not forbidden. It just the chaos overruns. There's only a few people that can control the chaos. Which I'm like, okay, cool, that makes sense. Like, hey,
Well, you shouldn't
we
have
should
to watch
avoid
the
it.
anime to get this. Also,
Oh, you shouldn't.
but when you were, and maybe this is just because I've watched like some of, I guess, Full Metal Alchemist. That must be where it came from. I didn't think
I've
of it
watched
until
all
right
of
now.
I've watched all of Full Metal, but yeah.
Right, but when that fire guy was first sitting in that cell, when he was like just snapping again and again,
Yes.
I knew immediately he was fire. I don't know why. It must have been because of Full Metal Alchemist, but I knew right away. I
Yeah.
was just like,
Yeah.
I told my brother, I was like, this guy's gonna use fire, and I kind of like this guy by the way. I want to know what his master is.
Yeah.
Remember, he was like at the end, he was sitting at that table. By the way, that girl, you know, his like female companion.
Yeah.
When did her face get burned? Did I miss
I,
something?
no, I don't remember it either. There might have been like a real clear scene that this happens in, but note to like self, don't ever do like huge burns like this on a person for the next season because now they're gonna have to do all that makeup again.
Exactly the same too. It has to be exactly the same.
Unless you just want her to wear a mask, which would be
Yeah,
probably a better
yeah,
thing to
that's
do.
true.
Yeah, but the magic system for me gets confusing a lot, especially when at the end the witch that is assigned to Nilfgaard, I'm talking about,
Yes. Yeah.
she uses like Professor X freeze power on everybody, and she's like,
Yeah,
"Hi,
yeah,
I'm
she
gonna
did.
kill everybody here." I'm like, when the fuck did this come? Why don't you just use this on a large scale? Does this not scale up?
You don't even need to
Wow.
use it on a large scale. You could have used it like you could have kind of gone stealth in any kind of conflict and just freeze like 4 or 5 people immediately around you that are threatening you. Just kill them quick and then move on to the next ones. Honestly, that's all you got to do.
For me, it breaks some of the magic system. It's like, this is ridiculous. But it doesn't make sense. Just use this all the time then. Just use this power all the time.
Yes, I totally agree with that.
One thing, some of the things I did like, because I have a few more things I
Yeah,
like
I was
about
gonna say
this.
that. I was gonna tell you something I like too.
Nilfgaard armor update looks great. Don't look
Way
like
better.
they don't look like they don't. It looks like ironed out. Doesn't look like Michelle
Yeah,
Obama's
looked like
foreskin
foreskin
anymore.
before. Yeah, I was just gonna say. Yeah, it looks like foreskin.
And I also like that Chad guy. He's like that bald guy with the beard. He's like super
Oh, I
confident.
love
ripped
him
guy.
too. Yeah, he's like a Santa figure.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, dude, he's my big daddy Santa.
I know. I wish he was
Hope he comes
watching me
down
while
with.
I was sleeping.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I love his alpha energy when he just comes up to that guy. He's like, "Drink this poison, you bitch!" And that guy just drinks the poison,
I
knowing he's
know.
gonna die right there. It's like, just fucking run. What's the worst thing that's gonna happen? You're gonna die
Drink the
anyways.
poison. Yeah, I totally agree. I like that guy a lot. He was pretty cool. I didn't really understand the whole.
No.
I mean, there was a lot of this that I was like half paying attention for because again, there's just so much happening at once, and it's not like Game of Thrones where it's separated into clearly visually. It's jumbled, you know it is. But
Yeah.
it's the bald guy with his little owl informant who apparently is a black lady, and then the kid, the black elf, right? He's like the
Yeah.
informant as well for certain things, and I don't know. I didn't really understand exactly what was going on with that or who he was informing until the end. I got it at the end, but I shouldn't need to wait until the end to understand it.
Right. Yeah, I think this show does a bad job of kind of communicating the subtleties in it for some person that doesn't have the knowledge of the source material. And one of the things I didn't like about some of the subtleties that I didn't pick up on at all in season 1, and in season 2 it just becomes like this is kind of weird, is do a horrible job of showing the passing of time, right? So the first season happens over supposedly all this Siri at the end of it. She's like at least 13, right? By the
Sure.
end of season 1, right? Which she rides off. So that span there has to be at least 13 years from when Yennefer is there and to the end of the Battle of Sodom or Saddam. I don't know what. I always think of Sodom.
Yes.
That's all I can
Sodden.
think about.
Yeah, just a
Sodom.
Sodom, but with an N.
Right.
Though.
So,
So,
but then
hey,
they do a bad job of showing the passing of time of like that 13 years supposedly. But then a year later, or not even a year later, days later, you see Siri looks like she's 16 now, like a full-grown adult, and
yeah, well,
it's
the
supposed to be like
eyebrows
one
helped.
day. And then who's her name? That black elf that she was friends with. He's also like a man now, and I'm sure he's supposed to be like a kid.
Listen, Siri, how old, honestly, do you think she looks? Like in real life, how old do you think she looks?
He looks like she could be 20.
Yeah, she's exactly 20, but well, this kind of defeats my point then. To me, she looked younger than that. To me, she looks
Oh,
like she's
really?
like 14 years old. Yeah, she looks like
She
14,
does not
15.
look 14.
Maybe say, who? What?
You think she looks 14 in the series right now? Right
Oh,
now,
yeah.
not season 1. Season 1 she could have looked a little younger, but in this series right now, you think
I think she looks like
14?
14, 15, 16. Yeah, absolutely. And the only reason, listen, I've seen a lot of 14-year-olds in the last like few
Oh,
months at the
FBI.
school, man. And
I hope
some
they're
of
in
yeah,
here.
I know. Yeah. Oh, okay, uh, yeah, but I've seen a lot of them, and a lot of the time, like I'm walking down the hallways, and I'm like, is this another teacher? Like, they're so, I don't even know. It's just weird, like behaving in a strange way, and then they turn around.
Choose your words
Like, oh,
carefully.
it's a kid. Like this is just really strange. I thought they looked super young, and Eunice immediately was looking up to see if there were nudes of this girl. I could see it immediately, and I was like, my response was like, Eunice, like how old do you think she is? And then he's like, she's 20, and that threw me off. I was like, okay, well, I guess if she's 20, but I did not pick up on that because I then looked up just what she looked like in real life or whatever, and there's like some red carpet stuff. She is shapeless. She is a
Oh, yeah.
board. She has no hips or anything. I was like, this looks
Good for
even
her.
more like a kid.
Yeah, well, okay, I'm saying she doesn't look developed, but her face has aged significantly.
I think a
From the
lot of that
first
has to
season.
do with the eyebrows, man. But anyway,
Well, yeah, that's true, but
I'll bridge to this first of all. I did not mind Siri in this. In a normal show, she'd be doing a bunch of bullshit that's hindering people and holding the main character back, like doing irresponsible
was.
things or being. No, she was not. She did not do anything like that. She wanted to become a Witcher. She did not get in anybody's way. The only thing she did was get possessed by a creature that she could not stop no matter what. She didn't do anything. And
yeah, I
actually,
hated-
too, like that was another thing. With the whole thing about that at the end, where the other Witchers wanted to kill her in a normal series or a situation like this, I'd be fully in agreement. I'm like, you have to kill her. Like it's for the greater good. She's killing all these Witchers. But this whatever, the Deathless Mother. The whole thing about her was that the more they hated her and wanted to kill her, it was just the stronger they made her. So they were literally going to have no hope of beating her if they kept on doing that. So it was the only solution. You know what I mean? So I don't know. They kind of wrote themselves out of a normal story thing that I hate.
well, yeah, they
And
foresaw your bigotry. They were like, hey,
they
eat
did.
that bigot.
No, they shook my hand and said we agree, but we got to make the
Yeah,
show
no.
a certain way.
Okay, no, I hated her whole, I don't know, thought process in becoming a Witcher. Like, why the fuck would you want to be a Witcher? Do you see? First off, their life is fucking hell. They're always like scrubbing around for money, potentially after maybe killing a monster. Also, your chances of becoming a Witcher isn't like special forces where, oh hey, if you make it, you become one of us. If you don't, you just go home. No, you're gonna die like a horrible way. And even if you get through it, it's gonna be an awful process. So I don't know what gave her the idea that she wanted to become a Witcher after just leaving home, after her whole world came crumbling down. I don't know. It made no sense to me. And
Well,
and then
I'm not saying.
also the fact that you think she's 14 and she's able to do this American Ninja Warrior uh, obstacle course in the back.
Okay, first of all, that obstacle course, that's a complaint of mine because that thing did not look that difficult. There was like the little like rotating sword thing, that'd be difficult. Otherwise, the rest of that course, dude, you and me could get that thing done in a day, for sure.
Oh yeah. Well, that's my problem is they have so much focus on like this shit, and like why isn't there more focus on Geralt at all? He feels like he's a sidekick to Ciri and
Yeah.
Yennefer.
And then that's
called
that's
The
true
Witcher.
in this. It is called The Witcher, but it wasn't that in the first season. It was a lot of Geralt. This one, I think it was just they're just trying to develop Ciri more because they did not develop Ciri at all in the first season, and that was a complaint of mine because she was clearly important, and by the end of the first season, I didn't like her. I didn't give a shit about her. She was just annoying. Whenever she was on screen, I didn't want to see it. I wasn't interested in what she was doing at all. In this one, I actually am. She's with Geralt, and I know you said it's stupid that she wanted to be a Witcher, which is true, but it was to help Vesemir in the end. And that's another thing I actually liked about it. Vesemir at no point ended up having like some crazy, typical character flaw where it's like as soon as Geralt's away, I'm gonna go behind his back and do what I think is right because
Yeah.
whatever. Like that typical thing where it's like the guy who trained me is going too far.
Kind of like
It
what they
didn't
did in the anime, which I didn't mind,
Yeah.
but you know what I'm
No,
talking
I
about.
didn't
Yeah.
mind it. Well, that's because the rest of it was so good too. And it's a trope that you can use sometimes, but if they did it here, there's not enough good things to excuse it. So I'm glad they did that. And on that same note, I really did like what we saw of Geralt in this. It just more alpha male points kept getting added to his,
No, there's no alpha male
playbook.
points.
Are you kidding me?
You
He's
think
a
there's
great
alpha male
father
points?
too. Yeah, he's a great
Yeah,
father
no,
too.
you're not a okay. You're not a father. She's
He
15,
is.
at least 15 years old. Okay, if all my family dies and I go to
Yes.
live with some person and I'm 15 years
Yes.
old, in no way are they my daddy or father figure. You're
Well, if father
basically
figure,
holding me
yes.
over. No. You're basically holding me over 3 years and then I'm gonna leave, right? So you can be my guardian. He's very guardianish, but in the series too, they try to drive home that it's like that's your daddy. Like, no, he's not your daddy. Maybe he's your
I don't
daddy
think
in a
it's his
different way because I'm
daddy.
getting a way different vibe off of the Ciri Geralt relationship, and it's very X-rated.
Was it the used condom in the background?
Yeah,
It was that?
was there one?
I wish there was one. It's like the cup in
Oh,
the episode of Game of Thrones, that little like Starbucks cup.
there's a lot of good points in this where you could have had a sex scene star. One of them was like, "You sure you want to be a Witcher?" When Vesemir is with her, and he's like,
Well, I thought,
"Oh, you walked in on us. You want to join?" Yeah, three-way. Oh, it'd be so good.
well, Rule 34 Vesemir. That's definitely something I got to check out later.
Also,
But
I
I
don't
was
like.
thinking when
Go ahead.
Roach,
Yeah, go ahead.
when Roach was like gonna die and getting sick,
Yeah.
he was on the ground with those 3 big slash marks in him, and it looked kind of deadly. But a lot of times an emergency ejaculation is the key to kind of solving that kind of injury. And
Yeah, like a jellyfish?
Yeah, like a jellyfish. And Siri looks like she could do that okay. Like for a younger girl. With Geralt's
Emergency.
guidance, of course. Obviously. He's done it a million times. She's just learning.
Well, okay. So one of the plot points in this was that her blood is going to give birth to new Witchers, right? Which is really
Yep.
cool that she's the key. She's here. Oh man, they're lucky. Every month they're going to have a unlimited supply of formula for the Witchers.
Absolutely. Fill the 5-gallon bucket.
Yeah, it's lucky for the Witchers because that they have this.
Yeah, it's lucky that
girl
they have
that-
the Home
that's gonna
Depot
naturally-
5-gallon bucket that the girl can sit on.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Like this, I'm more like mad at this series, not because of how bad it is, because I don't think it's as bad as other series are. I'm mad at it because it has everything there to be good, and it's not. You have a great main character. You have a good source material. A lot of set design looks great. The budget is there. The action is like most of the time there. And they just make it about dumb shit and things I don't care about. Like the whole elf thing. The whole reason why I didn't like the elf, like I didn't mind the whole elf lives matter thing, but the reason why I didn't like care about the elves because they did such a bad job of me making them sympathetic to me. Because most of the time when they're on the screen, I'm like, yo, fuck these elves. They should be. I'm with the North. We should get rid of these elves. Genocide, please.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. No, I mean, listen, the elf thing was really, really, really dumb, and it was one of the weaker parts about season 1 too. When they went into that little place and Geralt got captured by those elves and he like talked them out of it, like Star-Lord T'Challa. He's a master negotiator, got himself out of the situation. That was one of the worst parts, and it continued on season 2, man. I think that's probably the weakest part about the season, and the fact too that the whole elf conflict was so pivotal to the Deathless Mother, like Yennefer, that person, and Fringilla, like being together and stumbling upon that house. That's another thing, man. It's a convenience, right? Just so happened to be this little shack that the first Witchers sealed this super powerful deity in that escaped, somehow knows about Cirilla, You know what I'm saying? It's another
Yeah.
convenience thing that I don't like. That's one of the worst parts about it, and I blame the elves for it because that's what they were doing at the time.
Yeah, I know, and yeah, so much of it I hate like that. But like when you brought up the what's it, the death, the mother, what's it called? What's she called?
I think it's a deathless mother. She has like an actual name,
Anyways,
like something with a D and a V. I don't know.
I love that hut thing. Whatever, it looks so cool.
Yeah,
Like in this, it looked
it does.
weird.
It's got
It
like
looked weird.
legs.
Yeah, it was creepy enough for me, and I was all about that. That stuff I liked. But you see how it gets this cool, dark, kind of Grimm's fairy tale aspect to it, with like a little mix of Game of Thrones. That's where I like. That's where I like it to live in. But instead, they go off to these other points, and it just they take you out of scenes sometimes. Like this is my one of my issues with it, which you really don't care about. But whenever they say terms that don't look like they don't seem like they're from fantasy settings. Like in the first season, they said mutation. Remember, I had a big thing about that. And you're like, oh,
Yes.
calm down. But in this one, they talked about evolution and genes, and I was like, what the hell is going on here? What kind of scientific understanding do they have in this era?
The genes was
Evolution and
confusing.
genes?
Evolution is not a weird thing to me, but the genes that
No, no.
was absolutely confusing.
Evolution.
That's weird.
The idea that these creatures could evolve over time like that is like in the 1800s, like was developed.
Yeah, I understand, but like imagine one of these monsters, like those tree monsters we saw at the beginning. I know it didn't happen exactly like this. Imagine there being a tree monster, and then like you witness it in a matter of seconds or whatever, like grow and like hatch from within itself to form a totally different looking monster, and they just
Yeah,
called that evolution. Like it evolved.
no, okay, but
You know what I'm
then
saying? Imagine that.
yeah,
That's like a
I,
concept in their place, and if it happened over time, like, if they witness
okay.
it happening over the short, you know what I'm saying?
Do you feel relieved because that was a huge stretch right there? Like
It was not a huge
that was a huge
stretch.
stretch. What I'm talking about evolution is actually talking about a person. She was actually referring to a human being and something about evolution. I'll find the clip and send it to you so that you can be like, oh yeah, that is kind of dumb. But clearly, it didn't bother you enough to sear it in your brain like it did for me.
All right, send me the clip.
I will later.
Yeah.
Original clip. One of the modifications I liked that they did was the Bard. I don't remember what his name is, but he looks a lot better in this.
Yeah, he does it better.
But that cringe line, I don't know if you told me like, hey, there's gonna be a really cringe line when he said like, first they came for whoever, then they came, first they came for the elves, and then they came for no artist is safe. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I mean, I remember, but that
It
was, I mean,
was
it's kind of supposed to be embarrassing. Like, no, you're not supposed to take this guy seriously.
no, there's no way, dude. There's no way.
You
You're
think he was?
supposed
You think we were
it was
supposed to
a
watch
hard.
this and take it seriously?
No. When he was sincerely saying, he in this point was explaining to Yennefer why he was helping these elves leave wherever they were at. He was like smuggling them out, and he was talking about like
Oh, yes, I know. Yes, okay, yep, you're right. Sorry,
that was
that was
100%
bad.
sincere, and it was cringe. And then he's like, "No artist is safe," and I was like, "Oh, dude, please." I wish that was the case because then I would say first come after the writers or showrunners of this series. They need to be arrested.
All right, it's not that bad. Listen, this is
Also,
better than Game of
also,
Thrones.
yeah, thank you. Also, the Bard when he's like, "Hey, I have these people's lives in my hand, but I'm gonna get like in a shit talking match with the shipyard worker." Like, what the fuck is going on in this guy's head?
I don't know. He led to that one elf being killed.
No, blood on his hands. Also, his new song is that about Geralt, right? The butcher.
Yeah, I think they all are.
It's a little suspect how passionate he was singing about him. We left him.
By the way, speaking of that too, the song quality went way downhill in this season. Last season had
yeah.
that super iconic, toss a coin to your witch or whatever. This one terrible. I can't even like remember what the song is at all. The other one was an immediate brain worm. This one not. This one's in this season. This is like Agatha all along level. It's like no one gives a shit.
Yeah, or
Except
what's it
everybody
called?
probably does.
I mean, what's the one from Hawkeye? I can do this all day.
Oh yeah, for sure.
This series also something I don't like about it. It feels like there's a bunch of like 30-year-old men, women, mostly women, running everything, and they look like they should be more so in a CW show than a gritty medieval fantasy. Game of Thrones has believable people that are in power and kind of like character actors or like kind of more ugly people. It feels like almost everybody in this show could be a leading person in their own movie or their own show.
You're not
Do
gonna.
you see that at
I'm
all
not.
or no?
Yeah, I do, of course. And I'm not gonna say like there's no part of this show that's better than Game of Thrones. It's not like I would like to see like Henry Cavill would be good in a Game of Thrones type thing if it was done correctly. Like I think he's proven that to me over this show that he could do it well. He's the only good part of this show, and it's not better than anything in Game of Thrones. So no, I agree with that. This is very CW-ish compared to something like Game of Thrones. It's not perfect, but it's the
Yeah, well,
second best show of all time after Game of Thrones.
yeah. Well, and I'm not trying to compare it 100% to Game of Thrones. That it needs to hit that standard of quality, but it's just some of the choices of actors in this just feels off, and it mostly comes down to why it feels like Nilfgaard is being ran by people 40 and below, which is kind of weird. Like, there's
Well,
no
it's throwing me off.
like I
That threw me
like
off
in
first
Game.
season. That commander guy, right? Like that the lead
Yeah.
commander guy who
Or-
he looks really strange, by the way. But yeah,
Well, I like he at least looks like he could be evil, right?
I
Looks
like him with
strange,
the
but he looks
beard.
evil.
He looks like Harry Potter evil though. He doesn't look
Yeah,
like
right.
Game of Thrones gritty evil. He looks Harry Potter.
That's the one thing in Game of Thrones that they did is if you have a young leader, he's usually surrounded by all these older people. Like when Robb Stark took the North, right? You had all these other houses come to him, and they're all these elderly, not elderly, but older men giving him guidance.
Yeah,
This it
everybody
just feels
can't be
like,
good
meh,
looking. It was like in the Dune,
yes,
in 2021 Dune, like the main character was he's a good looking guy probably. Like he's like a teenage heartthrob looking guy. I would assume he's like a better looking Adam Driver and younger.
yeah.
But you have all the men surrounding him like Jason Momoa and Oscar Isaac. Like they're these gritty men. The what's his name? The Fremen dude.
Well, you Josh Brolin, Javier Bardem.
Javier Bardem. Yeah, and Josh Brolin. Right. All these guys. It's the exact same concept, but this did not hit that mark.
Yeah, no, it just it feels off balance, and it just could be so good. That's why it's just so frustrating to me overall.
No,
This
I
series.
agree. I think the only consistently good thing in this is Geralt. He's competent. When Ciri got possessed, he immediately knew. Like she started, he wasn't deceived for a single moment. When that big monster came out of the portal, he was able to take it down with difficulty. So it wasn't just like an effortless thing we didn't care about. It was kind of cool. Uh, he's just consistently been responsible and cool. I don't know. He's the only good thing about the series overall.
Right. I wish the Witcher series was about the Witcher and not everybody around the Witcher. Just like Hawkeye. This is a common threat. It's hard to not pick up on what all the series nowadays are about, but it usually comes down to, hey, you interested in this? Well, it'd be a shame if we just really made it about all of the women surrounding this character. You're like, well, that would be weird. And like, yeah, well, you're doing it. Too bad, bigot. Okay, well, I'm just gonna stop watching your shit. And then you can see why Spider-Man is doing so well because they sold it as something about this one character, and you're getting it about this one character.
Times three.
Yeah, baby. Yeah,
By
this
the way,
this
did you see-
season, shit.
Yeah, it's shit. Well, no, it's not shit. I agree. It's a.
You agree? Shit. Okay, cool.
No, sorry. You say it again. Say what you said about it.
I think it's shit this season.
I don't think it's shit. I don't think it's the best ever. I think it's on par with season one, which is okay. Not good, not great. I don't think it's bad at all, dude. It's fine.
I don't know if I'm not really that excited. The only thing that makes me excited is the White Flame, which I'm pro White Flame. I don't know about you.
Well, honest to God, learning that he's a series dad or whatever, I don't know why, but we saw him in the first season. Like, he was hated and kind of, like, I guess, persecuted for whatever. It kind of makes me, yeah, pro White Flame. Like, and I'm not even saying that as a meme. Like, he almost has more legitimacy to his cause, whatever it is.